Bangladesh has begun a massive operation to move hundreds of thousands of Rohingya refugees to new camps in an effort to contain the humanitarian catastrophe on the Myanmar border. More than 400,000 Rohingyas have now fled the crackdown by Myanmar security forces in just a month, as Anne Barker reports.
The desperate situation inside Bangladesh has suddenly become even worse. Monsoonal rains in recent days have turned the already squalid refugee camps into a cesspool of mud and filth. At Cox's Bazar camp just inside the border, thousands of refugees sit in flooded tents. One woman, Samuda Begum, is about to give birth but lacks access to toilets or proper hygiene. Her other child has diarrhoea. I'm 9 months pregnant, she says. If it rains, my tent will flood. If it's not raining, it's extremely hot. I don't know how I can give birth. The dirty water, poor sanitation and overcrowded conditions are now a humanitarian disaster in waiting. Aid agencies say of the 410,000 Rohingyas who've poured into Bangladesh since late August, more than half are children. Christopher Lom from the International Organisation for Migration says it's essential authorities move fast to prevent an outbreak of disease.
The vast majority of these people are in fact women and children, and they're particularly vulnerable. I mean, children are particularly vulnerable because most of them are malnourished. In addition, if they're drinking dirty water, they're going to get sick very quickly. And that means that they have to be moved to a place where they can get clean water, which is safer than here by the side of the road.
Health workers have begun mass vaccinations to prevent the spread of polio and measles. Conditions are now so dire, Bangladeshi authorities, including Executive Magistrate Saiful Islam, have begun moving refugees to a huge new camp to confine them in one place.
Actually, we are trying to concentrate all the people in a certain place because it will be very helpful for the district administration to deliver their food, shelter, health facilities and everything. So we are trying to concentrate all the people in a certain place, and you know that we have already, our government has already given 2,000 acre for the Rohingya people to live there.
But as hundreds of thousands of refugees are relocated, more and more Rohingyas are pouring in to escape the crackdown in their home villages by Myanmar's military. Eric Paul Schwartz, who heads the aid agency Refugee International, says many have horrific injuries.
I don't recall seeing anything as awful, as terrible as I am seeing here. The crimes against humanity, the ethnic cleansing for which the government of Burma is responsible are like nothing I've witnessed before. The stories that we're hearing. I visited a hospital yesterday. Children, ages 1, 5, 10, suffered burn wounds, gunshot wounds, and with human beings essentially treated like animals.
The United Nations has accused Myanmar of ethnic cleansing, and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says Myanmar's democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi has one last chance to force her government to stop the violence. Aid authorities, including Eric Paul Schwartz, have called for the toughest measures against Myanmar's government.
There ought to be multilateral sanctions against the Burmese military. There ought to be an arms embargo. There ought to be a referral of the situation in Burma to the International Criminal Court. The United States should reimpose the sanctions that have been lifted over the past several years. It's hard to overestimate how dramatic the abuses, how widespread the abuses have been in Burma.
The government in Myanmar admits hundreds of Rohingyas have died in Rakhine State, but says most were terrorists.
Anne Barker reporting.